Okay, so here we go. We're going to get back and add a few more blending mode layers. So there's lots of interesting ones to use. Let's try to do something where we kind of get an overall light effect. You know, maybe this light is really, really blooming from the front of his face. So let's go ahead and go back to our color layer. I'm going to click here, new layer. Let's do clipping mask, so it's set to that. And I'm going to pick, let's start with a soft light. That's always a good one to try out. And I'm going to basically sample the color of the eyes. I'm going to use a really nice big soft airbrush. And let's say that this front of the face is really, really lighting up. So if we get a big area, I'm going to really, really push this. And notice how that slowly lit up. So let's see, before, here it is with. And what I could do is just erase out the areas that I don't want it to affect. Places that it might not touch. I could also take it and bring it back down. Got the soft blend. I'm going to go to a medium blend on my eraser here, and I'm going to maybe pull off the light on the ears again. Maybe just a bit around the eyeballs. The nose. You know, maybe some of these planes that are down and underneath aren't getting that brighter value. So they're a little bit cooler and darker. See how that kind of brought out a warmth in the face. It's very kind of subtle. I've got it at 7. I could turn it way up if I wanted to be very bright. I could turn it back down if I wanted to be somewhere in between. I think I might erase a little bit on top of the muzzle as well. Maybe inside the mouth, on the lower part of the jaw. So there's that. That's one thing we can do. Let's maybe try another one and maybe do some shadow. Maybe make the front of him look very bright and the back can be very dark. So I'm going to do a new one. Let's do this one without the clipping mask and without adding the extra bits, and then we'll clip it second. Okay, so I'm going to just pick a color. Let's say we want to get a secondary kind of cool light. Let's say it's a dark purple kind of color. Let's get a big soft brush, and what we can do is just start to paint way outside. And you know, this purple, let's even make it a little darker, and we'll add some of that to the very, very back. Okay, so this is kind of cool because what we're doing is we're adding the darker complement to the yellow, which is purple. So then I've got this, and I'm going to first clip it. Let's title our fourth layer. I'm going to call it Warm Face. Let's call this one Cool Butt. So now we have some different effects going on. If we look at this, now that it's clipped to that, it's working. It's doing something for us. But it's really strong on this just normal mode. So let's slide this over so we can kind of see what happens when we switch to different blending modes. If we went to darker color, does that? Doesn't really seem that different. Linear burn, ooh gosh, that would make it really dark. especially where we went heavy. Color burn would do that. Darken, multiply, that's kind of cool. But we don't want to use multiply in light or add or screen. I'm trying to find something different. Add, lighter color, overlay, soft light, not bad. Hard light is kind of strong, really bright. There's vivid, ooh, pumping that one way up. Linear light, pin light. Hard mix, I don't even know what that does. Difference kind of makes it go the opposite way. Exclusion, subtract, divide, not the right choice. Hue, saturation, color, luminosity. Out of all these, I don't know which one I like. Let's go with linear light. So I'm going to say linear light, and I'm going to take this and I'm just going to bring it back so it's not quite so strong. So here we have our different layers, and what I would maybe do from here is, it looks a certain way. We see the drawing here. We could take our drawing and we could turn the opacity down quite a bit so it's not quite so strong. Lighter drawing. You could also select it and you could paint it a different color. Let's even show that really quick. I'm going to turn off all my color, all my value. Let's take this drawing. Okay, we're going to hit select, or yeah, there it is up at the top. And hopefully it's pick that. Let's say we wanted to make this drawing like a dark browny red. Okay, so then I've got my brush, and basically, if you can see that, it painted that color. Let's pick something else that maybe we can see easier. Let's go to a bright orange. Now you can see the lines getting painted bright orange. Well, what does that do when we add these other things back into it? Sure makes that look weird. Doesn't really work. So let's go back, try this one. And now we turn these on. Not so bad. Maybe I would take that and lighten it up a little bit. If you liked it, but you wanted it to get a little darker, you could duplicate that. And if we turn off our selection, here's something where we can really kind of start to play with it or paint it in. Maybe I would take both of these and lighten them a little bit, and then maybe put those together so that they're the same layer. But lots of different ways you can kind of play around with this. I think the one last thing I would do is I would take a layer and I'm going to put it down at the very bottom. Let's rename this background. Okay. And I would probably just start to put in a different background to all this, even if it's not doing much, but just so that you kind of start to see what's happening to your actual picture. So I'm going to just kind of paint up a darker version up here. You can kind of give it some different areas. Then you can go back and, let's say, erase the foreground where the castle and all this stuff is, and give yourself something else to put in there, and he's kind of floating up and above it. You can kind of paint your details in for that. But there's that. Maybe one other thing I would consider is you can start to use a Gaussian blur layer where you can start to soften things. This is on the wrong layer right now. I would maybe put it on the flat to do that. And it would just soften a little bit those edges. It's kind of a little bit more realistic. What you might choose to do, and this is something that's new to Procreate, is I can hit that and I can hit pencil, and then I can decide how much I want it to affect. And then I just start to soften those areas, maybe in the back, because it's farther away, and I might just leave the front alone altogether. So, hopefully this was informative for you. You saw some different ideas, and we'll see you next time.